They so dysfunctional they couldn't even make it through dinner, child. Welcome to La Vida Rosta. I'm your host Pinky, and today I'm wearing a totally out of the blue different color afro than my normal one. Since we are social distancing and I'm at home, yes, I didn't feel like doing my hair, so I was like, let me bust out my fro real quick. But I'm not here by my wig. I'm here to review Married at First Sight, so if you'd like to see more, then just stay tuned. Don't forget to check out my website down below, La Vida Rosa Style, where you can find cute accessories like the ones I'm wearing right now. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into this video. I thought Zach and Mindy would lighten the load a little bit for the reviews, because I'm like, okay, thank you. They were not on this episode, so, you know, I don't have as much to talk about. Oh no, they more than made up for it. I'm just gonna start with Austin and Jess like I do every week, because let's just get the normal ones out of the way. Let's just get the ones that have a chance out of the way. So we got a little bit more clarity on how often Austin would actually be traveling. He will be going on 3 to 4 day trips, sometimes 10-day trips, and every week. Did they say every week? I feel like they said every week. I didn't write down the week. I thought they said every week. I don't know. Y'all let me know down below. But either way, she said that would be majority of the month. And she also said he was never specific with her about this traveling. She feels like because they just got married, it's going to be difficult for them to like really get to know each other. Katie said, well, maybe it will give you time to miss him and strengthen your relationship in a different way. And she said, well, sometimes after you haven't been around someone for so long, like after they get back from the trip, it's a little awkward getting back together. I totally see where she's coming from with this. Like, that is a lot of traveling, but it's like a catch-22, because like, I mean, that's what he does for work, and if he's gonna ever move up in the company and make more money, then he's gonna have to do this. So when Austin was talking to Derek about this whole situation, either Austin doesn't want to put their business in the streets, like their little argument in the street, or he doesn't understand the severity, because Jess was very seriously concerned and upset about how often that he traveled, and Austin was just acting like it was just like, oh, we had a little argument, but that's it. No. And I hope you understand that she really, you know, she don't like this. So hopefully they can get on the same page. Pretty much the whole time it was just very awkward for Austin and Jessica, because everybody else was so dysfunctional that they just didn't feel comfortable sharing, because their situation is not that dysfunctional, because their situation is not that, you know, cringe, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're actually having normal, like, growing pains of getting to know each other that regular couples go through, and the rest of these people are just toxic. So I felt for them, because they got caught in the middle many times with these couples. They just wanted to go on a normal couples retreat. I don't remember a couples retreat ever going this bad. Like, literally every couple but one had a falling out that night, that first night. I don't remember it ever being this way. But anyway, let's just go on and get into it. I'm gonna start with Mika and Michael. Michael just be so uptight around Mika. Like, he's so standoffish. He kind of feels awkward because of all these lies that he's told, and, you know, how many times she's called him out. But that is your fault. So when she's making an effort to have a conversation with you, I think the least you could do is be personable and nice and participate in the conversation. And when she asks you questions, answer them thoughtfully, because you are lucky that she is still around. Well, she was just talking about some goals that she had for the retreat, and when she asked Michael what he wanted to do, he basically wanted to hang out with the men and watch football. What? Have you seen this show? Do you know what a couples retreat is about? It's not about you hanging with the fellas, I'll tell you that much. He being very nonchalant and purposefully like being rude to her the whole trip. And then once they got there, they just didn't talk to each other. They broke away from each other. Mika went with the group. Michael and Brandon, they're besties apparently. They would be besties. They would be. And they just completely isolated themselves. The other couples immediately noticed that they were not happy. We all know Mika cannot hide her emotions whatsoever. Like, if Mika's not happy, she's not gonna fake a smile for nobody. Like, she's very stoic, to say the least. Because they were not getting along this entire road trip, they decided to sleep in separate rooms. Michael just was gonna act like it was all good, like he was just gonna sleep in the bed with her anyway, and she was just like, nah, we haven't been on the same page this entire time. You were trying to ignore me all the way up here. Why you think we're gonna be in the same bed? And y'all, in spite of all this, Mika is still optimistic that it could possibly work. Well, we still have time. Like when she's talking to Taylor, well, we still have some time. No, we ain't got no more time. And I'm just like, Mika, where is this optimism coming from? Where was the Mika from last episode that was done? I'm really trying to figure out where that Mika is, because that Mika should have came to this retreat seriously and should have been in that car with Michael, honestly. So Brandon and Michael decided to dip off on the second day because Brandon had to work and Michael had to set up some funeral arrangements for his uncle. I'm sorry I had to put that in quotes, but we don't know. We don't know because the story wasn't straight. So when he came back to the retreat, they all sat down for dinner and just began to ask him just simple questions about their trip there and back. I think Jess was trying to get to the bottom of it because she doesn't understand why they had to leave in the first place. You know, they were being a little rude the entire time yesterday. So she's trying to get down to the bottom of why. Why did you have to leave? It didn't make any sense, y'all. I wrote down notes and I still don't understand what this man was trying to say. He said basically they rode back together and he had to drop Brandon off at his house. Then once he did that, he had to drop him at a festival. But I thought he had to work. Was he working the festival? And Jessica previously asked him, well, did y'all hang out? And he was like, no, we only hung out in the car because supposedly Brandon had to work and he had to do these funeral arrangements. But then the more he was talking, it was making it sound like they did hang out at this festival and that Brandon didn't actually go to work. Taylor basically said what he said was crap. Mika picked up where Jess left off and was basically like, see, this is what happens with him. Every time he says one thing, it always turns out to be another thing. And then he's just like, well, don't talk to me like I'm a child. Stop acting like a child, lying all the time. Stop telling stories. Them legs didn't get spanked enough for that. I'm sorry. Because he acts just like a child and it became so awkward. And so Michael just did what he does best. He stormed out. As if he had a reason to. So let's get into Katie and Derek. Katie is still thinking about this poem that Derek wrote when he was 15 years old, child. She jealous of an imaginary girl that was in his head. And she's mad that he doesn't express himself in a way that he expressed himself when he was a child. I'm gonna be honest. I don't even feel like going through all that. I'm going to skip everything that I wrote because I do not feel like it. So basically when they get to the retreat and she's talking to Jessica, she's telling her that she doesn't feel any sort of passion or feel like she's close to love with Derek. Even after they had that nice conversation in the car, because he told her she was a catch, they talked about their shortcomings or whatever. This would have been a perfect time to talk to him about that. But anyway, she told Jessica that she's annoyed with everything he does and says. So then when all the couples get there, Derek is like, he's kind of like being the life of the party, and he's sitting next to Taylor. But when I looked at that table, there was no seat next to Katie. Like, it was like 3 seats and it was Austin, Jessica, and Katie. And then on the other side of the table was Derek, Taylor, and Mika. There was no place for him to sit next to Katie. So she was just like, I don't know. It's like she felt some type of way that he sat next to Taylor. Now Taylor and Derek, they were kind of like joking back and forth. They were having a little banter. And now I'm not even gonna lie, if that was my man and he was kind of like doing that little back and forth, I probably might feel some type of way too, a little bit, just a tiny bit, because it was, y'all might not agree with me, but I felt like what they were doing was flirtatious. I think it was like the little harmless flirting. You know how when people have work husbands and work wives, and they be like having this, it's like a harmless banter. It's not truly like romantic flirtation. It's just like, you know, you just going back and forth laughing. Oh yeah, Katie, you're so lucky. I don't do that. I don't do that with married men. I stay away from married men. I try to keep my interactions with married men very short. I don't like to put too much like passion or laugh too hard, or because too many things can get misconstrued with the wife. You know what I'm saying? Or could even get misconstrued with that man. He might think I'm flirting with him for real. And I don't want there to be any sort of mixed signals. So them going back and forth was a little bit uncomfortable, especially Katie, who was clearly uncomfortable. And she said a couple of times, like under her breath, well, he's a ladies man with everybody but me. I mean, she was just being very passive aggressive about it. And I think everybody in there was pretty much drunk anyway, so they weren't like I don't think they were picking up on social cues that they normally would. And so Katie was actually getting upset while everybody was probably thinking she was like kind of being sarcastic. And then she basically called him a jerk, and he was just like, I really like you. And that came off as a little bit sarcastic, and you already know she has an issue with you saying that you probably are not going to fall in love with her within these 8 weeks. So it almost seems like you're taunting her. I can understand the build up to the point where Katie actually stormed out. However, I feel like Katie should have been mature and pulled this man to the side. Before all of this, before you have all of these dramatics where you storm out twice, this is what you do, Katie, if you truly have an issue with what he's doing. Derek, wait, did I leave something in my suitcase? Come back here with me real quick because I need to show you something. Go back, let him know the business. Keep on flirting with Taylor. You won't have a wife. Okay? Okay. And so once you come back and if he's still acting that same way, I can understand why you're still mad at him, because you let him know exactly what was wrong. But in the moment, you didn't. You were not clear with your communication and you got mad. See, if this was an isolated event, I probably could take her side and be like, well, she was just having a bad night. But this is not isolated. Katie has been picking and poking and prodding at Derek this whole time, because I sincerely think she wants to be with her ex. She's looking for anything wrong with Derek so she can leave him and so she can have a good reason not to be with him. When she stormed off, I feel like Derek should have went behind her, because you're the one who made her upset. But the friends went after her. I believe it was Jessica and Mika, and Taylor stayed there. And I'm like, Taylor, that is a problem, because she already upset that she feels like y'all are being flirtatious. Why would you, of all people, be the one to sit back and stay and talk with him? Okay. She feels like he doesn't flirt with her, so she doesn't want to see him flirt with anyone else. But it's like, Katie, he probably would flirt with you more and show more of his personality if you didn't criticize him every time he tried to be himself. Because every time Derek does something silly or goofy or tries to have fun with her, either she criticizes him and tears him down for not being a man enough for her, or she calls him corny and a nerd. She always tries to make certain aspects of his personality a negative thing. So I understand why he doesn't act that way towards you. He's a good guy, and that's it. I can teach kids more than I can teach him. I'm just like, wow, she being super disrespectful right now. Like, she completely was saying he's incapable of being a good husband to her. So she came back to the table and he was still flirting with Taylor. that set her off again, and this time he ran after her like he should have did the first time. He kind of knew he was wrong, because when he came in there, he was like, what are you mad about? You thought I was flirting with Taylor? Clearly you knew she felt that way, so why were you doing it? He basically was like, he was trying to cheer Taylor and Mika up. But this is where she came off the rails again. When he was trying to like talk to her and find out what was wrong, she starts cursing at him. Can't I effing finish? I don't feel special. You never initiate anything with me. Mind you, Katie has been on her monthly for the past 6 days and was mad that he didn't initiate sleeping with her. And she said that married people, I'm not gonna finish that, y'all saw it. If that's what y'all do, I don't know if I want to get married. Married people, y'all let me know, is that what y'all do? Y'all be running red lights? Y'all be running red lights? Okay. She gets so irritated with everybody else thinking Derek is an angel. No, he's not an angel, but you have been acting like a jerk towards him. And that's very clear. The reason why you feel like you're being portrayed like that is because you are taking those actions to make yourself look like that. Period. And if you don't want Derek, leave him alone. Leave him alone. If you feel like him only being a good guy, if you feel like he can't learn to love you, leave him alone. Let him go, please. I really hope they both say no on decision day. Please. Somebody else will appreciate him. So let's move on to the last train wreck. Brandon and Taylor. So before this trip even happened, we see Brandon on screen and he's explaining to us that Taylor has been gone all night in a hotel room with people he didn't know. She sent him an apology text message and said, I'm sorry I fell asleep. Brandon was clearly upset about this, like any man would. Taylor is a married woman now. She should not be staying out all night in hotels, period. Period. You need to be coming home to your husband. The thing about Brandon is he holds everything inside only for him to be like tick, 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 and boom, when he's had it up to here. And it's like, Brandon, you could have confronted her about this before you got in this car, during the car ride. Even when you got there, y'all could have went to a room and talked about it. But you just sat there and let it fester and let it fester and was being a little passive aggressive and holding it inside. I saw it. The crazy thing is, y'all, I'm gonna be real. I see myself in Brandon sometimes. Like, or I could see some same traits in Brandon and myself. I can be passive aggressive. I can hold things inside for so long and then blow up when I finally had enough. And I'm trying to work on that. I'm trying to work on addressing things in a moment, because holding things inside doesn't help anything, because the person is still going about their day as if nothing is wrong, and it's slowly making you angry because it's like, you hurt me, but the person don't even realize what they did wrong. Even if it's obvious, you need to point it out and let them know so that you can set your boundary. But see, when you sit there and hold it and fester, that's how we get these major blow-ups. Brandon already isolated himself. He didn't really come in and speak to anyone really, or have a conversation. He sat outside while everyone else was inside. And so Michael, when he came, he did speak, but he also went outside and was isolating with him, and they were being besties and trading stories about their wives. Brandon feels like he's wasting his time, and she says that Brandon does not communicate, and I can totally see that. He just feels like she's not ready to be married. I can agree with that, because if you're still going out and want to party all night every day of the week, you don't sound like you're ready to be married. So eventually she came out to snuggle, and she sat on his lap, and he was just all in his phone, basically ignoring her even being on his lap. Mind you, Taylor is pretty much drunk at this point. You can clearly hear it in her voice. Taylor's a little passive aggressive herself. It's like, why would you come sit on this man's lap and act like there's nothing wrong when clearly y'all came up here and he was having an attitude, and he's been separated from this group this whole time, and you've been low-key talking about him inside. You knew there was an issue. So she told her side of the story. Basically, she said the only reason why she went to DC and hung out with her friends is because she had to drop him off at work, and he felt like that was just an excuse for her to go hang out with her friends. That was the plan from the beginning. She called him the B word, which was extremely disrespectful, and she was very like hyped. She was going off, she was popping off, like she was like snapping on him at one point. So they had their whole argument. Taylor storms away, right? At this point, Brandon becomes very aggressive towards production. He was basically like, get this camera off of me, and he was done. He wanted to take off his mic, like he was ready to go home. And so when the producer came up to like remove the mic, he was just like, don't touch me. And he was like, whoa, like I'm just trying to get your mic. And he was just like looking at him, like taking it off, like, I got it here. It was just like Brandon was trying to provoke this man. It's like he wanted to fight him. He was all up in his face, like he wanted there to be a fight. He was really antagonizing this one particular producer, like getting all up in his face. And then when another producer came out, he was like, I don't care because she trash too. Like he was really going off on all of the cameraman. He was going off on everybody. Wasn't nobody getting away without his wrath. Mind you, producers can be very manipulative. They can be trash. Like, I don't put it past them that they have done something to cause drama. I don't know if y'all have ever seen that show. I'm just going to insert the name here because I can't think of it at the moment. But it was a show that kind of showed you behind the scenes of a reality show and how producers are, how they get in people's ear, try to start drama on purpose in order to make the show, you know, interesting. And so I wouldn't put it past any of these producers to do something like that. The way he was coming at them, it just seemed unwarranted. It really did. It just looked like it came out of nowhere. He began to go to the room and pack up. Taylor tried to come behind him and touch him. Don't touch me. And he went into the bathroom. She followed behind him. And he, don't touch me. And there was some rumbling up against the door. We don't know what was going on in that room. He gonna turn on his camera on her just to make sure he has proof that he didn't actually, you know, hit her or anything, I guess. It was so dramatic for no reason because Taylor, just let this man leave. Taylor had been arguing with him this whole time. Why are you begging for him to stay and begging for you to talk to him? Let him leave. He's obviously angry. You already see he's off the hinges. It's almost as if Taylor was trying to provoke this man because I know you didn't really want him to stay. Anyway, the next day, Brandon already said that he had to work the next day. So he was going to leave and Michael was going to go with him. I guess production set up a van for them to leave in. They were just like, if production is paying for this van to take you to DC, then they're going to have to put a camera in there. And he was just like, if anybody get in this car, I'm getting out. And Michael was trying to convince him to let him look. Just let them come in here. He was cursing everybody out, including Michael. He told Michael he did not trust him. And this is supposed to be your friend. He was being very aggressive, rolling up the window, locking the doors. Like, how you not going to let them in the car and they the one paying for it? So eventually he got out and just walked down the road. I don't know where he went. I don't know how they got to their destination after that. But apparently they made it back to DC. Michael came back, but Brandon did not. So I'm thinking Brandon is done filming for now. We didn't see him in previews for the next episode. I've said that Katie and Michael, they need help, and they do. But Brandon, I think he needs some serious psychological help because the way he was getting in people's face, it was a little scary. I mean, he was just, it's like he was really off the hinge. I wouldn't be surprised if he did put his hands on somebody or, you know, attack someone physically because he didn't look like he was all there. He didn't look like he was all there when he was snapping, and I was a little nervous for the people involved. So oh Lord. Help him, Lord. I feel so bad for I feel bad for him because I feel like he truly has some issues. Anyway, you guys, that was crazy. I cannot believe that this retreat went down like that. I've never seen a bigger disaster happen on the couples trip. Like, usually it might be one, maybe two couples, and they'll like keep their blow up to themselves, but these couples are literally a train wreck. They blew everything up. People couldn't even have a normal dinner. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think down below. Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Peace.